Well, good morning, everyone. I think I want to apologize for the title of this service. In the email blast, it said, Obituary, Donna Janesky, and Trish Parrish told me someone called the office very upset because she thought I had met my demise. So I'll have to rename this next time if I do it again. But let's talk 2015. Okay, this is it. But it's the close of the old year and the beginning of the new year, and it always seems to spark a time of reflection, doesn't it? We look at the past events and perhaps learn how could we have done better last year, or we congratulate ourselves for doing something that very well, success, and we set up plans for the new year with resolutions for meeting new goals and charting our course for the future. Reverend Hersom, our previous minister, would present a service on the first Sunday of the year entitled Obituary, hence the name, where he recounted important events of the past year as well as noted those who had died. A few years ago, he asked me to participate in this service with him, so we did it together for a couple of years. And then Ron's illness caused me to go solo with this sermon last year, and the Religious Services Committee urged me to present this service once again. So let's journey into 2014 and do some reflecting. I would like to start with the top 10 Twitter topics for 2014. And did you know someone who tweets is called a tweep? I read that in the paper this morning, Merriam-Webster. So reflect on for a moment on what you think those 10 items might be. As I read the list, I want you to think of our 7 principles. Okay, number 10, better transportation and roads. Number 9, reliable energy at home. 8, equality between men and women. 7, protecting our rivers and streams. 6, action on climate change. 5, political freedom. 4, an honest and responsible government. 3, a good education. 2, freedom from discrimination. And 1, better job opportunities. How about that? Were you surprised? I am just wondering why there are not more declared Unitarians, because these sound so much like they relate to the principles we affirm and promote. And this is what people are tweeting about. So let's do a few more lists to get the pulse of 2014. What were 48 million people talking about on Facebook? Now remember that 80% of Facebook users are in other countries. They're global. So, around the world, number 1, the World Cup. Number 2, Ebola virus outbreak. Number 3, elections in Brazil. Number 4, Robin Williams. Number 5, the Ice Bucket Challenge. 6, conflict in Gaza. 7, Malaysian Airlines. 8, the Super Bowl. 9, Michael Brown and Ferguson. And number 10, the Sochi Winter Olympics. Now, the only 2 different ones in the United States were midterm elections and ISIS. Interesting. Okay, one more list. This is Merriam-Webster's top 10 word of the year list, so chosen because of the increase in the number of lookups for these words. And they give a clue as to what was on our minds in 2014. Culture. People are using the word culture more frequently. Nostalgia. This was a big word because of the big 50th anniversaries for the free speech movement, the civil rights movement, Beatlemania, etc. So nostalgia. Insidious, probably because of the Ebola virus. Legacy, oh, this one I love, je ne sais quoi. You know why that's popular? Because of the Sonic commercial where they're eating French fries and the one guy says to the other, je ne sais quoi, and he looks at him, and actually it means a pleasant quality hard to describe. Innovation, surreptitious, autonomy, and morbidity. Top 10 words. So ever since I had to write my own obituary while in a hospice seminar back in the 80s, I have been addicted to reading the obituaries in the Florida Times-Union and elsewhere. A few of you have shared with me, Jay Hebner, one of them, that they have also begun reading the obituary since I've been doing this service on the first part of the year. Somehow, when I read someone's obituary, I feel like I am acknowledging the life of that person as I read their name, their accomplishments, and determine what their passion was from that small paragraph which tries to squeeze in the essence of who they were. Often included are love stories, career successes, philanthropy, family hobbies, as well as some humorous anecdotes. Of course, I can't help enjoying the euphemisms for stating that they died. Most people just pass away or expire. Sometimes they expire, but I like this one. Transitioned into the presence of her heavenly Father. Or how about Russell Hungerford, who heard the 12 drummers drumming and passed away peacefully? I like the obituary that started with, Joe had short legs and Alice could reach the pedals to his bicycle. Thus began a romance of 50 years. Mary Muzan died because she was ready to see Jesus. And Bill Yoakley was born in the middle of a hurricane and slipped the surly bonds of earth. Enid Kuski was born on a farm and probably left because they ran out of books to read. John and Laura Blower, both 91 years old, died during the same week in November, 6 days apart. And Herbert Feinberg, when asked, "How are you feeling?" would always say, "With both hands." If you knew him, you would hear his cheerful reply, no matter how bad some of his days were. And 26-year-old Peter Hapsis knew every millimeter of his beloved Honda motorcycle, the chariot on which he rode when he was taken by his Creator to a place without pain and worry. This obituary admonishes, may your glass be ever full, may the roof over your head be always strong, and may you be in heaven a half hour before the devil knows you're dead. 108-year-old Van Schuler's obituary recounted an amazing life, which ended in her Avondale home. She was a humanitarian, a pioneer spirit, joined the Peace Corps at 60, traveled to 7 continents. Ballroom dancing and elder hostel were her passions in later life, and her motto was, take life by the hands and dance. That's what I like about reading obituaries. Here's another interesting way of announcing a death. My sister's husband, Scott, who was 65 and battling melanoma, died yesterday morning. She sent me this text. Scott began his version of Happy Trails at 11 a.m. So let us now honor those members and friends of our church who have died this past year. Bob Towers, a member of this church for over 50 years, served as president, treasurer, and secretary. He was instrumental in establishing the Buckman Bridge Church in Mandarin, as well as our connection with our partner church in Bozad. A well-respected businessman, he gave of himself to the community and civic service. Wilhelmina Walton, a longtime member who was past president of the Free Thought Society, a free thinker and a Free Thinker of the Year recipient. She often led the Sunday morning discussion group, Playing with Ideas. Jeremy Lucas. Jeremy was so many things: actor, artist, horticulturist, activist, a real raconteur. I have to look that one up, but I think he was one. His wonderful voice and deliberate presentation compelled you to listen carefully to whatever he had to say. Though he lived with a serious illness for many years, he lived life fully and completely, always looking forward to his next project. Murdis Craig, wife of Bob Broward, the architect of this church. She was the first full-time executive director of Riverside Avondale Preservation Society, and she was devoted to saving historic landmarks and was an ardent supporter of the arts, women's issues, and the environment. Tom Bowen. He made his career in the Air Force, completing 2 tours in Vietnam. He earned many medals and commendations in his 27 years of service. When I see the Christmas tree that we had this year, I can't help thinking of Tom Bowen, who donated the beautiful tree every year. He was a longtime member of this church, and I received many warm smiles, hugs, and offers to help with whatever project you ask him to be involved with both his time and his treasure. And I would like to add Roger Janesky, whose birthday was today. He was age 70, an accomplished businessman, pilot, inventor, creative artist, and my baby brother. As for celebrities, topping the list is probably actor and comedian Robin Williams, who died at age 63, whose death really shocked the whole world. Actor Philip Seymour Hoffman died at age 46. Child stars Mickey Rooney, 93, and Shirley Temple at age 85. Lauren Bacall, age 89, who played opposite Humphrey Bogart at the age of 19. James Garner, 86, Maverick star. Comedian Joan Rivers, age 81. Mike Nichols, age 83, and Ruby Dee and Sid Caesar, both 91. Renaissance woman Maya Angelou, age 86. Designer Oscar de la Renta and novelist P.D. James. Louis Zamperini, Olympic runner and World War II officer who survived a 7-week journey across the Pacific. He was 97. James Brady died at age 73, the press secretary and gun control advocate, press secretary to President Reagan. Theodore Van Kirk, the last Enola Gay crewman who dropped the atomic bomb over Hiroshima. And Car Talk's Tom Magliazzi, half of the Click and Clack brothers at age 77. My Saturday morning will never be the same. British singer Joe Cocker, age 70, and folk singer Pete Seeger, who sang from this very podium at his mother's funeral at age 94. His mother attended this church. Casey Kasem, Bob Hoskins, David Brenner, Ralph Waite, and sports figures Ralph Kiner, Tony Gwynn, and Chuck Knowles. Now here are a few that may not be familiar. Ruth Robinson Ducini, 95, one of the last Munchkins of Oz. Glenn McDuffie, 86, the sailor who kissed the nurse in Times Square in the famous World War II photo. Fred Redmond, 79, was the youngest station manager in the country when he was hired at age 28 as general manager of WJCT, and he was able to convince the city officials to donate land along the river to be turned into Metropolitan Park. Alice Hertz Summer, 110, thought to be the oldest Holocaust survivor. She played the piano and helped put on concerts in the concentration camps. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about last year's obituary service and Cindy Chang. She had recently lost someone very special to her and came to the realization that life is very brief and tender. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, and she wanted to focus on what was meaningful. So she put up a sign on an abandoned building in New Orleans and covered the exterior with chalkboard paint and placed some chalk for people to use, and the sign said, "Before I die, I want to." In no time, the building was covered with personal aspirations of passersby. This exercise went viral, and people all over the world started doing it. And so, on January of 2014, some of you may remember, we also did this, covering our social halls with paper, putting out markers, and said, "Go to it." And here is some of what was written by you on our wall downstairs. See my kids and hope they can forgive me. Fall in love again. Have an epic beard. Meet my mother and father. Finish getting my affairs in order. Love myself as much as I love others. See the world at peace. Build my labyrinth and walk to the center. Start an advocacy group. Know how to live and who I am. Leave a positive legacy that will grow after I am gone. Throw a fistful of glitter into the air on the stage. Be a good guitar player. Go vegan. Influence and empower another person to follow their dreams. Yes, we had some fun writing down the things we wanted to accomplish during our span on this earth plane. Those of you who have not seen the wall can view it all downstairs because we have put it up again. For those of you who wrote on the wall, my question to you is, what have you done about it? As I was leaving the Publix parking lot recently, I saw a sign in front of the dry cleaners that said, "A goal without a plan is just a wish." This really resonated with me as I was thinking about this service. A goal without a plan is just a wish. I challenge you to think about what steps you have taken in meeting your goal to be a good guitar player, to get your affairs in order, or to see the world at peace. You may get frustrated because the goal seems so big and so unrealistic or just impossible. World peace, you say? How am I going to do that? So here is a little story that may help you with your quest. This was actually written on the tomb of an Anglican bishop in Westminster Abbey who lived in the year 1100 AD, and I quote, "When I was young and free, my imagination had no limits. I dreamed of changing the world. As I grew older and wiser, I discovered the world would not change. So I shortened my sights somewhat and decided to change only my country. But it too seemed immovable. I grew into my twilight years, and in one last desperate attempt, I settled for changing only my family, those closest to me. But alas, they would have none of it. And now, as I lay on my deathbed, I suddenly realized, if only I changed myself first by example, I would have changed my family, and then their inspiration and courage, by their inspiration and courage, I would have then been able to better my country, and who knows, change the world. You can't change other people, only yourself. So, the wall is up. I encourage you to read what others have written, and feel free to commit to your own before I die goals. So there's markers down there. Go ahead and have at it again. And remember, a goal without a plan is just a wish. So we've talked about our friends, our family, and celebrities, but what about the homeless? I always like to give special recognition to those who died in Jacksonville who were homeless this past year. So unless relatives claim their bodies, Jacksonville's homeless who die are usually cremated through a city program that covers the $960 cost of an adult cremation. Their ashes are then scattered in a little flower garden at a hillside cemetery on the north side. And I'm not sure who is there to recognize their passing or their existence. So I would like us to honor their existence by recognizing their passing by reading their names, and there is an insert in your order of service. So please join me as we pay homage to them. John Aguilar, Jimmy Baird, Roosevelt Brown, Philip Keith Cowan, Fraser Culbreth, Steve DeYoung, Daniel Wayne Fox, William Graves, Irish Irby, Renee Jordan, Paul Kubik, Jeff Mayo, Dottie Peace, Diane Plouffe, Sharon Reneke, Dave Renfro, Kevin Riley, Daryl Spivey, Bruce Stanton, Keith Sturdy, Debbie Zulte. I leave you with what was written in 36-year-old Kurt Allen's obituary, and I quote, "May you never forget what is worth remembering or remember what is best forgotten." This was written along with a quote from Dr. Seuss. "Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened." Blessed be.